When the fire came, it took everything: his home, his memories, his family's legacy. He was left with nothing but the scorching embers of what once was the charred remains of a life that had been built by hands long gone, his grandfather's hands. Nothing except a pile of ashes and a world that seemed to crumble around him. It wasn't just the fire that destroyed him. It was the betrayal, the heartbreak. That cabin, nestled in the forest, was more than just four walls and a roof to him. It was a sanctuary, a place of peace, of history, of love. It was where his grandfather had raised him after his parents were taken too soon. And now, that same cabin had been reduced to rubble, as if fate itself had decided that there was nothing left worth saving. His name was Lucas Sledge Ramsey, a Hell Angels biker with a reputation as tough as nails, a man who'd seen it all and been through worse. But when the fire swept through his life, it left behind a hollow man, one who questioned every ounce of strength he'd built over the years. How could he rebuild his life when there was no foundation left to stand on? The first few days were the hardest. He wandered the scorched earth of what had been his grandfather's cabin, eyes filled with disbelief, his heart heavy with loss. The flames had consumed every piece of wood, every floorboard, every memory. The smell of smoke still lingered in the air, mixing with the bitter scent of regret. He couldn't even bring himself to call anyone for help. His gang, his brothers, would never understand the depth of the pain he felt. This wasn't just a house. This was home. The weight of everything was too much, and for the first time in his life, he considered walking away from it all, leaving the ashes behind and never looking back. But there was one thing he couldn't shake: the image of his grandfather's face. The old man had always believed in second chances, in rebuilding from nothing, in finding strength even when the world seemed to be against you. And so, on the fifth day, Lucas stood in front of the charred ruins with a single thought in his mind: I'm going to rebuild. The journey was not easy. He knew it wouldn't be. But something inside him clicked. The hardened biker who had lived a life of rebellion and rage, the man who had fought tooth and nail for every scrap he owned, was about to face the greatest battle of his life, not against an enemy, not on the open road, but against himself. He began gathering what little materials he could find: wood, metal, anything that was salvageable from the wreckage. With no plans, no instructions, and no idea where to start, Lucas began the slow, grueling process of rebuilding the cabin. It wasn't just about putting up walls and roofs again. It was about restoring a piece of his soul. Each hammer strike was a catharsis. Each nail driven into the timber a step forward, no matter how small. But the challenges were immense. There were days when he thought about quitting, days when the sun set, and he looked at the half-constructed frame of the cabin and wondered if it was worth it. He was alone. He didn't have the luxury of family or friends. His gang wasn't going to come out to the middle of nowhere to lend a hand. Every time the weight of isolation threatened to drown him, Lucas would push through, his determination like a shield against the cold, creeping doubts. The most difficult part, though, was dealing with the past. Every time he swung the hammer, he was reminded of the man who had raised him, taught him, and loved him unconditionally. His grandfather's hands had once crafted these walls, carved the details into the wood, and laid every stone of the fireplace. And now, Lucas was forced to face the truth. Those hands would never hold him again. The memories flooded back: his grandfather's voice telling him stories around the fire, the lesson learned in silence, the pride in his eyes when Lucas had first started riding a bike. The weight of all that was now his to carry alone. There were no shortcuts, no magic fixes. It was just sweat, blood, and tears. And of course, the unwavering drive to honor the man who had taught him how to live. It took months of hard work and sleepless nights. The forest around him became his world, the rising sun and setting moon his only companions. And slowly, the cabin began to take shape once again. It wasn't the same as it had been before. It couldn't be. But it was close enough for him to feel his grandfather's spirit within those walls. One day, after what seemed like an eternity of labor, Lucas stepped back and looked at the cabin. It was finished. The roof was sturdy, the walls were strong, and the porch, his grandfather's favorite spot to sit and watch the world go by, was once again intact. It wasn't perfect, but it was his. And that was enough. The pain hadn't disappeared, but it had softened. Lucas stood at the threshold of the cabin, his hand resting on the doorframe. And for the first time in a long while, he felt peace. The ghosts of the past no longer haunted him. They had become part of the structure itself, woven into the very fabric of the place. This was home, his home, and nothing would ever take that away from him again. If you believe in second chances, in rebuilding what's been lost, and in the strength of the human spirit to overcome the darkest times, hit that like button, comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder that even from the ashes, we can rise again. Lucas's journey wasn't just about rebuilding a cabin. It was about reclaiming his life. And now, as he stood there, looking at the place he'd fought so hard to restore, he knew one thing: it was worth it. If this story touched your heart, please engage with the video, like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Have you ever had to rebuild something from nothing? We'd love to hear your story.